It is so beautiful outside. Today is our last day, I think at 70, and then winter begins. But this is not another video about the winter weather here in the middle of New Mexico. Rather, the question I have for you today, or what I've been thinking about, I know it's exhausting. Just be glad you're not in my head. But what I was thinking about is, what does the nomadic life look like after the how-to videos and the travel vlogs? That's the question we're asking or thinking about. But first, we're going to take a deep breath. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale, and see you on the other side. See what you're chasing, and reaching out to a future life you're sure. So in my never-ending quest to understand my place here in the YouTube and video world, I wanted to ask this question. And what I've noticed is that most of the RV videos are like either how-to, right? How to prepare, how to live this way. They're about what kind of vehicle to buy or what your transport system is going to be. And the third one is really just the travel vlogs or adventure vlogs. And those are really the three main things that I see right now on YouTube around those videos. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know down below. But where I'm at right now is 1, 2, and 3 are sort of in my past. I'm not really looking at how to do this. Kind of figured most of that out. I know what I want to travel in, and I'm done with traveling for the sake of traveling. And I'll talk, whoops, I have to have notes today. I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. But the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about is I'm trying to understand you guys. And I'm not making these videos so that I can talk about myself and share my life and then find a way to get paid for it, which is not really why I'm here. And so that really brings me back to, who is my audience, and do we have something in common enough to really talk about that together? And so I've been trying to understand who you are, and I've been watching other people's videos trying to get a sense of who's doing what, where, that kind of thing. And what's been really interesting for me is I actually thought I would be talking to women, but what I'm doing is I'm finding myself talking to primarily men. Between 60 and 80% of the people who watch this are men, and most people are over 50 or over 55, which really isn't the demographic I set out to talk about, which leaves me in a bit of a quandary about our process here. And what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm not hearing what some of your feedback has been, is the things that are important to you guys are either you're not living this way and you are struggling with some of the burdens that we've all struggled with, some economic burdens, some health burdens, the aging process. Some of you want to get out on the road and do your own version of traveling, or you're already out there. And the other thing that I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, is that part of watching these videos, not the learning part, but the other part is, and I've heard this from more than one person, so this isn't anybody's particular comment, is there's a way of sort of living vicariously through people, sort of like me, who are out living a kind of life that you think you might want to live. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. That's kind of what I'm picking up. Please give me feedback. I always appreciate that. But like I said, my journey isn't to go back to 1, 2, and 3. And so I'm trying to find out where my nomadic life is taking me. And I have come up with 4, 5, and 6. And I talked about that in a previous video, a little bit about what I want to focus on. But one of the reasons why I'm trying to find my place and why I think I'm trying to do something that's a little bit different, and so we're in more of an uncharted territory kind of process here, is that I don't really think this kind of life is sustainable. I don't think our future as a economy and America or even globally is going to allow people to just sort of wander around and travel indefinitely. I think we're going to get to a point, which is why I like to talk about survival stuff, where it's going to get way more practical. Things like, how are we going to get food? How are we going to get health care? Things like that. So that's why I talk about that stuff, and I'm more interested in that kind of thing, because I don't even think this is going to be an option worst case scenario is we're not even going to have electricity, which means we're going to be hoofing it. So that's why I like to talk about sort of the refugee version to a nomadic life. The second thing that this is personal to me, and it's very difficult for me to convey this, is that when I worked in trauma and crisis and things like that, what I learned is when you have the experience of having real interaction with people, it is really hard to go back to the superficial, and you can't really talk about that or explain it if you haven't had that experience. And that's one of the reasons why I have an affinity for veterans, is that once you've experienced war and you've experienced the kind of bonding you have in a war situation, normal life is just horrible. It's really difficult to have the superficial conversations and to be upset about the little dinky things. And, once you've gone to real, and I had that, when I worked in the emergency room and the trauma, I mean, that's life and death. That's crisis. And the exciting thing about crisis, for better or for worse, is that it strips all the crap away and you are having a very real moment. And you can't live there forever because it's exhausting, but once you've been exposed to that, it's very difficult to go back to the superficial. And that's where I've really found my peace and centering, is in nature and with the animals, because they are always authentic. They are always in the moment. They are never putting on that false facade or that pretend self or that superficial self that I can't relate to anymore. I can do it in tiny little doses. So for me, that's why I don't like traveling, because it's just about looking at different places at this point, which doesn't hold value for me, having had these other experiences. Which brings me to number 6, is that, my goal with getting back on the road isn't to go travel to places, but it's really about who I can meet and get to know. And even when I started traveling the first 2 years, that was the value experience. And I actually made videos about that. I met some awesome people who were doing some really incredible things. None of those people were travelers, and those videos didn't connect either. But I really understood there's some really cool stuff happening out there, and that's where I want to get back to, because I really believe that this way life as we know it isn't sustainable, and that things are going to change. And I want to meet and be with the people who are going to be part of that change and moving things forward. And so for me, it's a very different experience, and I don't know if we have that in common or not. And that's really why I'm bringing it up, because part of my, defining road culture and being excited about that and creating this idea around survival road is me just evolving this process. And I want to say thank you, because it's really your feedback that has allowed me to figure out what I am and am not doing. And I've done it all wrong. I've just thrown a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks in YouTube, which isn't most of what I do. And I don't want to talk about the weather all the time, and climate's not enough. And so it's been difficult to find my spot here. We're still evolving it. But I really have started focusing on who you are and what you're looking for. And again, I've been kind of surprised about who my demographic actually is. And I love, the feedback that you guys give me. It's just been different. It wasn't what I expected, and it's left me a little bit discombobulated in terms of everybody, different age groups are looking for different things. Men and women are looking for different things. And so, I thought I was having one conversation, and a different conversation has obviously been happening. So that's just kind of where we're at today. I wanted to talk about, what is life like after the how-to videos and the travel and adventure. And that's really, the kinds of things I've been exploring. And it's fascinating to me, right, that what is after all that? Because I think once you've experienced it, at least for somebody like me, it's not enough. And so I guess my question is, for those of you who have done more traveling, are you finding that it's not enough, or are you able to do it long term and it feels good enough for you? I don't know. And if you're still in that pending mode where I want to get out there, have you thought about what you would do if you got tired of traveling? Have you put that question to yourself? So I'm going to put that question to you. So that's just a little bit of what I want to talk about today. I hope you had a really good weekend. It's super windy today, but I'm going to enjoy our last day of 70 degrees. I just saw the forecast, and it dips down into the teen digits overnight. So we're not excited about snow and cold, but it's coming. here in the tiny trailer. Oh, but before we go, we're going to do one more deep breath for the road, as I hope you will rise with the sun in your eyes, love in your heart, feet firmly on the ground as together we walk on Survival Road, one step at a time. Live free, die wild, my friend, and we'll see you next time.
And you've been lost for 1,000 miles or more. You can't see what you're chasing.